Welcome to Flip Lesson 69 for the 6th grade. Today we're going to cover a large number of ideas, some reviews, some new, as we look at complementary and supplementary angles. So we start with a little bit of a review. We start by looking at the idea of naming rays and lines on a page. And so as you look at the picture here, you see a ray, starts at B, ends at Q, and of course, because we have an arrow, it keeps going. So to write the answer to this, we would name this. We would first put our endpoint, right, where it doesn't continue, then show where it's continuing to, and then show the ray sign, just like that. Now, the ray sign always looks like this. So as you look at the second example with the B and the Z, we have to remember when we're naming rays, we always start with the endpoint, Z, and then go towards where the arrow is pointing, which is B, and continuing on that way. So even though the picture shows the arrow going to the left, the symbol always goes to the right. Right? Then with a line, right, we see arrows on both sides, and so we can call this line AZ, making sure we have arrows, or you can actually write it both ways in this case. It could be line ZA. So we have that review. This example is going to use the word segments, so we have for sure endpoints, but now we're going to take it to a little bit higher step by doing some working with to solve for what is unknown. Right? So what this says is find the length of segment BR. So we know what the length of segment GB is, says it's 15 centimeters. We know what the length of the entire segment is, it says it's 27 centimeters. So to find BR, right, we want to find this distance right here. We're going to take GR and we're going to subtract BB from it. So we're going to take 27 centimeters, that's the whole length. We're going to subtract the small length that is there. And in the end, we're going to get 12 centimeters, which is going to equal the length of BR. And so I can say BR. And of course, to write a segment is just a simple line over the top. So we have that idea. That's the review. Let's get into some new things. It says the measure of angle WXC is 47 degrees, and the measure of angle CXL is 43 degrees. What is the relationship between the two angles? So we see that this angle is equal to 47, and this angle is equal to 43. It says, what is the relationship? If we were to add these two angles together, 43 plus 47, we would get the answer of 90 degrees. And that creates a special relationship that is better known as complementary angles. Complementary angles are angles that are side by side that when added together, when the measure of their angles, right, these are the measure of their angles, are added together, it equals 90 degrees. And so we would call these two angles complementary angles. Okay. So keep that in mind, complementary angles. Sometimes as you look at our angles, we can see it in a slightly different picture. All right? We see a triangle here. A triangle has a measure of 180 degrees, and we see that angle A is 90. We see that angle R is 30. And we see that angle G is 60. All right. So as we look at this, it says what is the relationship between R and G? G and R are next to each other. They work together, sharing this line right here. So if I add 60 plus 30, I get 90, which of course would mean that these angles are complementary. And so we have the start of this lesson. The first video is going to end there if you're doing Jing, and we'll continue on with the video here on YouTube. So we have this idea. Two angles side by side added together equals 90 degrees. We have the word complementary. Now, we have a new situation. We have angle NVE is 117 degrees, while angle NVS is 63 degrees. So as we look at this, we want to see, well, what's the relationship? If you were to add these two together, 117 plus 63, you're going to get an answer of 180 degrees. And when two angles are side by side, when they get added together, they equal 180 degrees. That's where we can say that they are no longer complementary, they are supplementary. Two angles side by side that equal 180 degrees. So how do we put this into practice? We see this picture here. All right, we see this picture here. We see angle LQJ is 95. QJB is 85. LBJ is 95. And BLQ is 85. It says, what is the relationship between angles BLQ and LQJ? All right. So all these different letters take a while to really think about what it's asking, but it's saying, what is the relationship between this angle and the relationship with this angle right here? So this angle plus this angle. So that's going to be 95 plus 85. 95 plus 85 is going to give you 180 degrees. So we would say that they are supplementary angles. And we can see that relationship. Now, in the sample problem, you're going to put all this together and start figuring things out. It's not going to give you the measures of angles, but by looking at the shapes here, you should be able to figure out the complementary angle, supplementary angle, and naming array. Remember, when naming an angle, I use the word in front of it and then put the letters. However, more often than not, when you write angle, you're going to use the angle symbol. So angle PEO. Right? Angle PEO. So remember to use that symbol as you go about naming complementary and supplementary angles. That is lesson 69, looking at complementary and supplementary angles.